This morning I'm up at the workshop just getting on with some cleaning and going through a lot of hives that I stacked up about a month ago that needed cleaning out. These were hives that were queenless late summer that had some reason had become queenless. They might have swarmed, or the queen might have tried to supersede, or basically the queen stopped laying and they didn't have time to make a new one. So what I tend to do is, if I evaluate what I've got, I look at what's else in the apiary, and I often shake out the bees from those frames next to a colony next door, then those bees will join that other colony, or I take the frames out of the colony that's queenless. You get to a point at, for us, September time, where there's no point in trying to make a new queen. The bees can't do it anyway, and if the weather's bad at the same time, you just cut your losses and clean out that hive and move on, because you've got to pool your resources and get ready for the following year. Everything now is all about preparation and moving forward. So this is the kind of thing you see at the end of the year. I've got a hive that's basically, this is actually one of my first hives I ever bought, and that's why it says number 2 on the box there. So this hive's about 9 years old, so considering how old it is and how neglected it is, it's lasted pretty well. No signs of any real rot yet. But what I like to do when I clean them up is we have a blowtorch. This was all set up when I came here. Luckily, Christian, my colleague, had obviously had plenty of experience with this, and he set up a really good piece of kit where it's over a barrel, it's safe. If you get anything that's hot and flaming falls in, it doesn't catch fire, and if you left it, it wouldn't spread to anywhere else. That's what you've got to be so careful of. But he's made this top working piece of kit, so you've got 2 tools we use here. One's a scraping tool, which you can get right inside there when all that propolis is heated up, and that scrapes all that gunk out. And the other one we use is a straightforward hive tool, which you can use to knock off stuff. We're not really looking to sterilize the hive, but we kind of do that as we do it. My thoughts on sterilization is it's not really necessary, but it's a help. If you're not checking your colonies properly and you're not looking for foul brood and you don't know what it looks like, you're never going to find it. So as long as you check every time you check the brood, if you find a colony that's dead or died out for a reason and there's gunk in the comb and in the cells, you've got a pretty good chance it's going to be foul brood. So you check that out and then you act accordingly. But no colonies have been left of mine that have died out on their own that I haven't checked. They're all checked, so I know that these don't contain foul brood, these don't contain anything else. They might have a bit of chalk brood, they might have the remnants of a poorly laying queen. That's one of those things, but I clean the frames out. I look at everything as I clean it out, so I know what I'm looking for in that respect. I've now got to the point where I'm pretty confident that I could spot most things. There's always a chance you can miss it, and I argue that you should always, out of choice, if you can clean everything up, we do so. So when we sterilize these, when we do actually clean them, we do end up mostly sterilizing the boxes, and that's the best way to do it. And for instance, the trays we've got here, the Nico trays that our hives sit in, we'll dip this in, if we think it's worth it, we'll dip it in a caustic soda dip, and then or we'll just bleach it just to get it clean. They do clean up really well. But that's what I'm trying to say, is not everything has to be sterilized. Not everything has to be, in reality, that ain't happening. So these are some of the mini feeders I have that go on top of my mini nukes. All my nukes are stacked up here now. That's all them away. There's my old ones. All the rest are full of bees, so there's quite a pile there. I'm gradually going through those. That's some of my feeders. Going through these, sorting all these out, and cleaning up as we go. But it's a job that takes a lot of time. And it'd be nice to give this to someone who basically works for me, but unfortunately I can't afford to employ anybody. So I have to do it all myself. But it's the thing that gives you time, again, to reflect and work out what you need to do for next year. All the time, that's what you're doing in beekeeping. far as I'm concerned, this box is basically clean now, but you can see it's got some wear on it, and there's little things like I did that I now know are better, that I would now put screws in every one of these, because when you heat up, these are just stapled in, the actual castellations that we have in all these dado hives. And nowadays I put screws in every single hole, and when I was heating it up there, you can see they're still moving. It's something you learn as you have hives over a long time. And you can see the exterior of this hive was actually just oiled. The first hives I had, I only oiled them with linseed oil. So considering the neglect they've had, they've actually lasted really well. So I'll probably give this another coat, to be honest, and see how it does over the years to come. Because if it's had 9 years of weathering, just with linseed oil on, it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm not unhappy with that. So that's what we do. Just to reiterate, if you find a colony that's died out and you find mess in the cells and you've got the classic foul brood sign and symptoms, that you should have found it a long time ago. It's not the time finding it afterwards when it's been robbed out. You want to basically find it well before, and you've got to be checking your brood, and you've got to know your pests and diseases well before you even get to the point of the colony dying, because that's how foul brood will spread, is if it's robbed out by other colonies. And obviously there's the issue with you spreading it yourself by contaminating the tools. But the minute that colony loses its strength and then it starts to get robbed out by other colonies, that's when it will spread. But if you're checking the brood, and if you're checking that colony before it gets to that point, there's a pretty good chance you'll contain any nasties in it. And then you can make that decision and go, yes, let's destroy this and move on. You know, forget doing a shake, forget doing, giving it new combs. That you need just to get rid of the colony. That's the way forward. You can't harbour disease. You need to get good, strong, hygienic queen. I've had one case of foul brood at the beginning of the spring that overwintered, that I found just before the spring really came, which was great. So, but it wasn't really a bad case, and it was just a tiny bit in one cell. So luckily the colony was strong, and I was pretty sure at the apiary that it hadn't spread. That's what I do for my disease. That's how I control mine. You've got to be on the ball and sorting it out instantly, not going, oh, well, I might well check that colony in a few weeks again. A few weeks is too late, and that colony will have collapsed, and it will have died out, and it will be robbed out. That's what bees do, and that's why the disease spreads. Obviously, as I said before, your own hygiene, you need to have a nice bath of either caustic or something like that to put your hive tools in every time you go between apiaries, and if you can, between each hive, which is the best thing. But you'll know, and as you get more experience, you tend to find out when you've got a colony that's iffy. You'll just know, you'll just pick it up. This hive is basically ready now. I've got the bottom back on, all clean. And inside we'll put our sheet of plastic ready, our aluminium for the top, and then we have a frame cover as well, but it's a cardboard one. It's more to give rigidity and to help hold everything down. That's all ready now in each hive, so I know that when I come to use this hive, it's ready just to use and grab it and stick bees in it. You know, that's part of your prep. Your prep for the winter, and you're organising for next year. So, have a good day.